following program is a presentation of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio in iTunes. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market. From unusual activity alerts to market updates and trading strategies. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block. With your host, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com and co-hosts Mike Tusaw from KnowYourOptionsInc.com and Mark Sebastian from OptionPit.com. The Option Block is brought to you by Options Express. Don't spend time worrying about your broker. At Options Express, security, stability, and account protection are the most important responsibilities to our customers. Secure account access, enhanced financial protection, entrusted with over $7 billion in customer assets, established financial stability. Options Express lets you trade with confidence. Stocks, options, and futures, all in one account. Trade with a specialist. Visit optionsexpress.com/OXradio to open your free account. Options Express is a member of FINRA, SIPC, and NFA. The Trading Block.
Well, anyway, what do you guys think of this market today? I'm seeing some things. Just let's lighten up my tape. We'll dive right into the trading block now. Just looking at a few things. I'm looking at my beloved fruit company, Apple, is down $3 on the day, so not a ton of movement. I see gold is down about 1% on the day. The Russell 2000 is up a little over a point. The S&P is down a little over a point. And just going across the board, we have a little bit of downward movement, but what I found interesting today is that we shot up towards the highs and then we kind of came right back down. Alex, what do you have? What are some of your thoughts on the pin action of what was going on today?
I think some of this was politics. They tried to break the filibuster in the Senate and couldn't, but it's not good action bouncing off the highs and closing lower. I mean, it's red ink pretty much across the board. Interesting, the Wall Street Journal today had a sort of a countdown clock on the new high, and as soon as the market reversed, they pulled the countdown clock. But today the news was the market. There wasn't a ton of individual stock news. A little blurb about how the iPhone wasn't selling at some of the smaller providers and how they were backlogged. But it was interesting to see the reversal at the end of the day. We could have a real interesting day tomorrow when Sequester starts. The only good piece of news I saw today was they will be furloughing IRS agents starting in the next week or two. So there's an upside to all this.
There you go. That's a good thing right there. So maybe if you need to get some type of a tax break in one way, shape, or form, maybe the furloughs can help in somehow. Who knows? Rock Lobster Man, Andrew, what are some of your thoughts on the market today? I saw that the VIX actually started down lower, but now I'm looking at on the close today, it's up about 5% on the day at 1547. The VIX cash, that is.
Yeah, we looked at it, and actually we're doing a pit report. We looked at the pit report today. Everybody's looking at, can we sell vol? Can we sell vol? Can we sell vol? And we're like, the volatility is pretty fairly priced. So we were looking at simple 1x2 spreads and things like that. But, to be honest, the market's moving. The market's moving like 1.25% per day. That's more along the lines of a 14 or 15 VIX. So, I think it's just fair. I think the market's moving, and we're going to get higher VIX numbers. And, they sold the implied volatility down pretty hard yesterday, which was, was a good time to close some of the shortfall maybe you put on at the beginning of the week when things are nutty. But for the most part, I think the turnaround is reflective. The change in VIX was reflective of just the market selling off essentially. And I think we want volatility to go lower because we like and think that market's going higher, but it's the same basic problem that the market's been having for 4 years, 2 or 3 years. It's political nonsense. Guys can't ever agree on anything, or act like normal I don't know what a normal politician is anymore, but they can't compromise. It makes the market nervous, and when the market's nervous, it sells off, and that's essentially what we have today.
Yeah, I'm curious to see just what, like, once everything that happens tomorrow, how the market reacts, and then also if the politicians try to further make this an issue, like they did on the fiscal cliff stuff in December, and try and make themselves look like heroes in one way, shape, or form. So it's definitely kind of intriguing. The other thing that I noticed today, and Alex, I don't know, I didn't get a chance to analyze this during the day today. I just saw the price action, was my beloved Facebook. I saw it was down earlier in the day, but then it actually finished up a little bit over 1%. Did you guys get a lot of calls on Facebook today, or see anything on that?
It wasn't an extraordinary day in Facebook. We were busy in Facebook when it was getting back up into the 29, 30 area. But I didn't check the name with the desks, but I look at what goes up on our social site, and it wasn't one of the names turning a lot of lights on today. I think there's still a lot of living dead money there, just waiting for the IPO price. But we'll see.
Absolutely. Then the other thing that I was kind of looking at throughout the day today, just and looking at the sectors, we really don't. The financials are probably the one that led the market down, so to speak. Was there anything on like an XLF or any of the financial stocks, for example, on the OX desk that people were calling in about buying puts or anything along those lines?
Didn't hear a lot of put buying today. But, the reversal came late in the day. So be interested to see what happens tomorrow if we get a lot of activity near the opening. But today, the sense I have sitting between the desks is things were relatively ordinary today.
All righty. Anybody got anything else for the trading block?
Herbalife up another 7% today. They gave Icon 2 seats on the board. This is going to get ugly, uglier than it is. But that was kind of the lead story today. It'll be interesting to see what Ackman does over the next few days.
Is he kind of taking the 1-2 black eyes, got HLF, who knows if he covered or not at some point. But then doesn't he long JCPenney too that's getting spanked? I think he is. I think he is
too, yeah.
I think he's getting the 1-2. Now, again, I don't know when he bought the JCPenney. But I think like the guy's already a billionaire. He's a lot smarter than me. But even a smart guy can have a rough day. He's having a rough day, I think.
Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Now, the other thing that I thought, it wasn't a story for today, but it was more of a story for yesterday. Anheuser-Busch, they're watering down their beer. Did you guys get a chance to see that story at all?
Let's make sure we say allegedly
watering down their beer. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's a shame Seabass isn't on, because I think he's the expertise in alcohol amongst our group. But don't know. I have heard that those suits are common. In fact, when I was in traffic driving home yesterday, I was listening to the NPR Market Show, and they were talking about how common those suits are, but they're generally not on the side of there's too little alcohol. They're generally suits based on there's too much alcohol. So should be interesting to see how this one plays out too.
Well, I'm just looking at the stock price of Anheuser-Busch. It really doesn't look like it affected the stock price all that much. It seems like the investors like it when they're watering things down, and that they're saving money with waters of the Mississippi and St. Louis instead of having the actual beer in there.
All I can do is giggle. That's all very funny to me. I don't drink much, so I don't really care.
When you fly out of Newark, New Jersey, when I used to spend a lot of time actually physically in New York on Wall Street, when you fly out of Newark, New Jersey, when you go to the Newark airport, it's an interesting dynamic. One side of the airport has a Budweiser factory on it, and the other side of the airport has a federal penitentiary on it. So you kind of drive right through the middle of those. But as I say, we'll see how this plays out. I suspect that's going to end up being more of a nuisance lawsuit than really bearing any fruit.
Yeah, it was yesterday. It seemed like that was all over the news. I remember watching throughout the day. So anything else for the trading block before we wrap it up, gentlemen?
Groupon murdered it today. Just murdered it today. There's a whole lot of people there wishing they'd taken the money from Google.
Run.
But huge move today.
Hold on, wasn't that Grigas' stock?
I believe it was. Yeah, he liked Groupon, and he liked Tesla. Those are his two that he really liked playing with.
Well, both of them they got whacked with the ugly stick the last couple of days, which happens. It happens to all of us. But of course, we're bashing on him because he's not here. It's much more fun that way.
Absolutely. And he may or may not still be in them right now. He might be short him. Who knows?
It's true.
So, well, anyway, that'll wrap up our trading block for today.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
And welcome to the Odd Block. The Odd Block is the section of our show where we go over various options that seem a little odd. And so today we have the Rock Lobster from Maine, Andrew. He is going to tell us some stocks that have some unusual activity, some that kind of make your head scratch. Andrew, do we have any today that match the one that we had a couple weeks ago where the guy had that nickel option that went up to $9?
I wish I had something that good.
I'm sorry, it was 85 cents that went up to $9, I believe.
Yeah, it was a pretty good trade.
Something like that.
I think the biggest chunk of paper, which was surprising to me, was a call buyer in TD Ameritrade, symbol AMTD. So at the last time I looked, TD Ameritrade was unchanged at around 1906. It's trading off $1 off its 52-week high, so it's trading $19. So a block of 37,402 of the August 23 calls trade a quarter. So basically, some guy buying or girl buying options that are, let's say that's 4 handles. So, it's about 20% out of the money in August for a quarter. Now, the only thing interesting that looked remotely good about this trade was that the options were from an implied volatility point of view, are relatively cheap. But that is a pretty good chunk of paper to buy all those out-of-the-money calls in TD Ameritrade. So clearly, the investor thinking that the stock is going to see some pretty spicy 52-week highs between now and August. So that is about as go-go as you can get on buying calls. What do you think about that, Mr. Toussaint? Is that the kind of calls that you would buy over there at RCM Capital Management?
Probably not at that level, no. But that's one that I don't know anything on. I don't really follow the brokerages, so to speak, and buy out of the money calls on them. So that's probably not the ideal trade for what we do for our clients. But nonetheless, it's interesting. It is a spec, so what the heck? That's what I say.
It is a spec, and actually there was another 5,000 calls that traded on the day as well. So, I mean, maybe potential takeover. Who knows? I don't know enough. I thought TD Bank North owned TD Ameritrade. I'm not quite sure. I thought there was some sort of convoluted holding and all that. But next, I thought one thing that looked interesting is early this morning, a lot of buyers of puts in Bank of America. Bank was trading 11.30. It's trading $1 off, again, $1 off its one-year highs. So a lot of the financial companies are kind of just off those one-year highs. And I saw just a big block of the May 8 puts trade for a nickel 10,000 times. And I saw a lot of other blocks of these out-of-the-money puts trading as well. The open interest in all these strikes is pretty huge. I mean, anywhere between 75 and 120,000 contracts. So my guess is, if I have to guess, is because the volatility really didn't move, or wasn't moving much this morning, is somebody just buying back some short puts essentially. They'd sold them at earlier dates. We had this fast rally in the first couple months of the year, and now everything's looking a little less, let's just say a little more uncertain, so they're just going to close their short puts and book the profits in the short term. So that's what I felt that was like in Bank of America.
Yeah, that's what I would think so. I mean, if it's something for that size for a nickel, or for that price, likely that's what I would think it would be as well.
Yep, I agree with that. Now here's another one today. Now here's a customer taking profits in CVC, Cablevision Systems. The stock was down $1.50 on earnings to around $14, and I actually did a little poking around of this. So there are huge blocks like 1,200, 2,685 contracts for 40 cents today. So a customer was out hitting the bid after earnings on these puts. So the stock was down about $1.50, but it looks like the customer paid anywhere between 15 and 20 cents for these puts a couple of days ago, like within a week ago when I looked at the time and sales volume. So, it looks like they average probably 20 cents a contract. About, what is that? All told, there was I think there was around 5,000 or 6,000 contracts traded today, at least on that strike. And the open interest was 7,100 contracts. So, the guy bought the puts, paid around 20 cents, sold the puts for around 40 cents, and made 20 cents. To me, it looks like around 7,000 times. So that's not bad.
Not at all. Not at all.
It's not a bad trade. But CVC did have to drop down on earnings about $1.50. And last but not least here, before we go on, a name I have never heard of. I thought I had looked at some options in here before, but to me, this is just a simple call overrider, a DGI, trading up 71 cents to 26.30. The stock's a little off its 52-week lows, about $3 off its 52-week lows. But the June 27.5 calls, not a very volatile stock, are trading for around 170 to 175. The biggest block going up at $1.70. Only 400 contracts trade per day, by the way, so it's not real active. And the open interest on the strike, this is what was interesting, it was only like 58 contracts. So this is kind of brand shiny new stuff. And it looked like this was a call overrider, basically. So somebody buying the stock, and although it didn't go up marked as a buy right, it has the feel of buy right paper, with only about $1.20. It's pretty aggressive call sale at that level. So I thought, DigitalGlobe is a global provider of commercial Earth imagery products and information services. Maybe they sell stuff to Google Maps, or I don't know. But be that as it may, it didn't move the needle very much. I just thought it very much felt like an opening call seller and overriding on stock. Timing was pretty good because that was about the peak of the market this morning. So they caught a good sale. And,
nothing wrong with that.
No. So and that was the day. I did this report earlier in the morning when the market was a little buoyant. I thought that obviously covering some short puts in bank looked very interesting, and that guy buying up those calls in TD Ameritrade was interesting as well. So let's see if those financial stocks, that is a hugely bullish trade. I mean, the earnings on a TD Ameritrade, do they really jump that much? 20% move by August? I don't know. I guess it's possible.
He's bold. He's bold. His model dictates they will.
His model dictates they will. I think we should name the title of this episode that.
His model dictates they will.
All the financials pivot on the 10-year. And Bill Gross at PIMCO today said rates are going lower. So either they're fading Bill Gross's forecast or they're betting on something else going on. But the financials, here at this shop, and TD's got to have the same model. And, Bank of America, it's got to be true on both ends, both Merrill Lynch and Bank of America. You get the 10-year up over 2, and it changes the entire dynamic of the business. But as I say, Bill Gross today was saying now, look for much lower yields. So we'll see who's right.
Well, I mean, I know the guy's a genius, but wow. I mean, is he just trying to say that so he can get out of his positions? I don't know. He also called the top of the market in September. I don't know how far up we are for that, because equities are dead. When did he say it was, like October or something like that? What do we have, 15% from there or something? Or
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
remember.
Well, that used to be the big technical indicator. It used to be the covers of Time and Newsweek. Of course, Newsweek is gone now, but the big technical indicator is when Newsweek or Time covers had the raging bull on them, you sold. And when they had Death of Equities cover, you bought. So, yeah, Bill Gross missed it by 180 degrees. So it's an interesting call today. And to your point, Andrew, are guys like this just talking their portfolio? Not that he's not a smart guy. I'm not implying that, but it always amazes me how the Buffetts, the Icons, the Grosses of the world talk their portfolio. And in the brokerage community, you do that. You got a compliance officer comes over and hits you with a very large mallet. So
they only have a mallet now. In my day, it was a sledgehammer.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. He's, he was all over the front page of everything today. And the headline reads, Gross says, get ready for lower returns. So we'll see.
Wow.
Could be.
Because, they're going to go below zero. I guess, right? They can go lower. But anyway, that's our odd block for today.
All right. And that will do it for the odd block. And now we will dive right into the Express Block.
The Express Block, brought to you by Options Express. Options Express lets you trade where and when you want for every level of trading. From advanced charting, free daily trading ideas, and free educational resources, Options Express is the online broker for all traders. Best of all, Options Express allows you to trade stocks, options, and futures all in a single account on powerful yet easy-to-use trading platforms, including mobile devices. Visit optionsexpress.com/OXradio for your free account. Options Express is a member of FINRA, SIPC, and NFA.
Welcome to the Express Block. This is when I get to rest my vocal cords, as Mr. Longo would say, and listen to the expertise of the Viceroy himself. So, Alex, what do we have going on today in the Express Block?
Well, it was a reasonably quiet day today. As I say, most of the names I heard related more to Groupon than anything else, but the reversal came late in the day, and other than that, you had pretty much of a range-bound market today. Everybody was looking at that new high number, and as I said, the Journal on its online version put a clock and a scoreboard up, and then as soon as the market started to tick down, it pulled that down. But it was a relatively quiet day here.
All right. Well, that seems to make sense with what's going on. With that, let's go ahead and end the odd block for now, and let's dive into the listener mail block.
Now it's time to empty the mailbag and see what our listeners have to say. It's the mail block.
And welcome to the listener mail block. This is one that an email that I got recently, and I'll answer it myself, but then I'll kind of throw it out to the group and we can talk about it as best we can. This is an email from one of the listeners of the option block. I will read the question now. I listened to your podcast and really enjoy it. I heard a while back that Uncle Mike was short the 26 put on Facebook. I had a 25 put assigned to me on it, and I wrote it down to 18 and back up to 28.68, where I sold my shares. I now have the April 23 short put. I am enclosing a chart that I would like to comment on. It is the reason why I chose the April 23 put. All right, so right now what I'm doing is I'm loading up the chart. We're going to take a look and see what it looks like here. Okay, the chart is loading. But with it, I'll just kind of talk a little bit about my thoughts on Facebook. I like the company for the time being. I like it as more of a longer-term holding with what I'm doing. So even if Facebook did dip down a little bit, what I'd be doing is selling covered calls on it and doing something along those lines. I thought I was going to get a chance to get into it today when it went down during the market day. I see the low of the day for Facebook today was 26.34. I wasn't following it extremely close today, but I was just kind of peeking in on it throughout the day today. I had a bunch of meetings today. But with that in mind, we actually have close to a $1 range from peak to trough in the stock. So with that, unless we get a significant drop tomorrow below the 26 level, looks like I'm going to be going into the weekend in cash, and I'll likely probably close the position for a couple pennies tomorrow morning. I'll take a look at it. Now on the chart that we have here, it's hard for me to share with you guys, but it's kind of showing a bunch of moving averages and a bunch of things that we have going on here. Now, with that, what I'm seeing here on the chart, just looking at Facebook, it looks like we have a little bit of a support level around the 28 level from what I'm seeing here. And in regard to the 23 level of why you're short at the 23s, looks like there's another little bit of support around the 23 level. My thoughts on this are that I like selling premium on Facebook just because I think it kind of runs into that happy median. Let's say I personally don't like to sell premium on something like GE because it's too light, and I also don't like to sell premium on pharmaceutical stocks. Now, I do like the trade of selling premium on pharmaceutical stocks because I have gained a lot of business that way through the years of people actually selling a put on a pharmaceutical. It's trading at 55. They sell the 15 put for $2, thinking that they're getting a great deal on the premium, and then all of a sudden they make an announcement that the drug's not approved, and then, well, Alex and Andrew, you guys know how the rest of that story goes, and I've actually gotten a lot of people calling me after doing things like that and have gained some business. So I like the trade from that respect, but that's a little bit on the other extreme for me.
That's kind of ghoulish.
It's good and it's bad, but it's worked out well for a lot of people, though. So it's the happily ever after has definitely been there.
Right. Yeah, we have a lot of customers ourselves.
So with that in mind, I like Facebook because it's kind of right in the middle of those two things. And I like to sell premium on things that are in the middle like that. So with that, tomorrow we'll see what the market gives us in the morning. Who knows? Maybe Facebook will be down at 25.5 tomorrow, and I might be looking to own Facebook over the weekend. We'll see. But bottom line is that I like this one for the long-term fundamentals of the company, the prospects of the company. We all know Facebook's story. There's a lot of reason to believe that it's going to go up, or at least in my opinion anyway. And combine that with the premium that's involved in it, and that's one of the reasons that I like it. It's hard to really kind of comment on the chart itself, but Alex and Andrew, just curious if you guys had any thoughts on Facebook, the premium that's involved with it, the fundamentals of the company, and that type of thing.
I think it's a stock where this is the volatility argument that Doc Schlesinger always makes. I think when it moves, it moves. So the realized volatility is vastly exceeding the implied vol. And I think there's a lot of living dead stock there. I think when that stock gets up to the 32, 33, 34 area, or I should say, if it gets up to the 32, 33, 34 area, I think there's going to be somewhat of let me put this delicately, a mass exodus.
Delicately, I love it.
And yeah, down here, I like selling premium too. I just don't think there's enough premium for the potential of that stock. Sort of back to your example about drug stocks, selling stuff for $1 and then they miss phase 3 trials, or they really cure something and they're, $12 or $15 higher. I think you're going to see a lot of vol in Facebook when it gets up over the $30 range again, if it gets up over the 30, and then the exodus. So kind of my view. Andrew, what about you?
As far as Facebook, yeah, I just kind of like selling puts and like ratio put spreads when it dips. I own some of the stock. I didn't buy it. I bought it at a decent price, but I think it's a fun stock to trade options around, and I don't think it's really a stock that's going to go from, let's say, 26 to 20. So it lends itself to certain types of trades for me. I don't see there's tremendous downside in trading like that, trading a stock like that. So it makes it I think it actually makes it kind of a fun trade. So I can't disagree too much with you. Yeah, and I would like to be wildly backspread the stock when it creeps up to like 34, 35, 36. Because what will be really amazing is how everybody's going to love it from 33, and they're going to really love it at 40, and really love it at 45, and all the crazy stuff that people do when stocks start to make new highs. But I think it will be a very interesting trade up there. I don't disagree with you, Alex.
That wouldn't surprise me. As I said, I think there'll be a mass exodus at around the IPO price where a lot of the living dead money is. And then to your point, Andrew, week later, it'll be 50. Just classic. By the way, we're taping Thursday after the close. So this may be old news by the time this airs, but they just booted Andrew Mason at Groupon. The founder and the CEO is out as of the tape a few minutes ago.
Wow.
I wonder what happens to Groupon.
Another thing to add to the list tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll be up 35 cents.
Well, it's kind of like Chesapeake Energy. As soon as Aubrey decided that he was going to retire, the stock rallied. So sometimes that could be good.
Really funny, huh? Let's see here. I'm just looking at it right now. And as we pull it up, and it is up. Oh, I was close. 23 cents. Because the business is still the same. What do you
Love it. Love it. All right. Well, that'll conclude our listener mail block for the day. And now let's go right into Around the Block.
Around the Block.
All right. Did anyone else have anything to add before we bid farewell in Around the Block?
Not me really. We covered some VIX. I think we're trying to just wait to get past the sequester, and it looks like the spending cuts are going to pass, and which I think everybody agrees at this point. The government's got to. You have to stop spending money somewhere, and this will actually be the first time in 9 years the government is going to spend less than they budgeted in some department since probably 1995.
Wasn't the idea to make this so onerous that they would, do something to avoid it? And bingo, here we are.
It's pretty clear. One group of people wants to cut spending, and one group of people want to raise taxes. So each of them are only going to do what they want to do. Take your pick.
Wonder which one that would be.
I think you got to stop spending before you start raising taxes again. Or creating loophole, whatever they got to do what they got to do. But at some point, the bond market's not going to lend them money for zero, and then that's what we're hopefully sitting here as option traders try to avoid, or own a ton of puts on that day. One of the two. I don't care.
Right.
The problem is there won't be anything to cash your puts in for. That's what will happen.
But at least you'll be right. That's the important thing.
Exactly. And all the people in Greece are like, can you imagine the Greeks 6 years ago? Oh, that can never happen here. And their stock market's down, 80% from the highs or something like that. So it can happen.
Yes, it can. No doubt about it.
Don't want it to, but it can happen.
Aside from the big cutting day tomorrow, Andrew, is there anything else that's on your radar that you're watching in the markets coming up?
Yeah, I'm always watching Facebook, actually. I like it. I'm also watching the volatility seeing how long the market can basically just keep moving and revalue things. I was certainly looking for a 12% vol, and, we kind of have this market that's blipping around a little bit. But I think when you have a market that's still relatively dominated by politics and unfortunately what silly politicians can do. Actually, I pulled one of my classes. I go, okay, it's 1996 or it's 2004. And the Italians have an election. Okay, would you ever have thought the Dow would tank 2% because the Italians had an election? You would be laughing. What? The Italians had an election? Who cares? And the fact that on Monday, that I think at least was 80% of the problem, or just kind of the knee-jerk, high frequency sell-off. We still have that market, so we are going to have those days, and clearly it's not done. It's not done acting like that yet. Let's just put it that way. When we have 4 or 5% interest rates, then it'll be done. But until then, still real sensitive to it.
Yeah, will we see 4 or 5% interest rates in our lifetimes? And I'm a lot older than you guys, so let me qualify that.
I don't think how in what instrument? Maybe in the 30-year, but what instrument were you thinking? The 10-year?
10-year, benchmarking to the 10-year.
Man, I'd have a hard, because what is it? What's it at right now? It's like 2.01 or something like that.
No, 180. It came down.
It came down to 180.
Yeah, hard off the 2, and when we sold off the other day, it literally did a 1 standard deviation move in the day. It literally did a year's vol in the day. 188.5 today.
So
Germans are.
It's messy.
Go ahead, Andrew.
I'm just saying the vol in the bond market, and that's what's been happening with us, right? The volatility in the bond market has been preceding the volatility in our equity market. So if those things heat up again, then we have equity problems. So I'm not really interested. Let's just say I'm not really interested. I'm not short any volatility in anything anymore. So
well, if Bill Gross is right, I mean, I think the expectation, and this is contrary, I think, to the way some people think, but healthy economy, good stock market, the 10 actually goes down in price up to over a 2% yield. And again, some of this will depend on Bernanke, but if it rallies and rates get down into the 160, 150 area, as attractive as that makes dividend stocks and strategies, I think that's a really ugly indicator of what's going on in the economy.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, that's definitely not a good thing. How low did it get in 2008 at the lows? Because I remember for a while, and was it the 1 month, I believe we had a negative yield, didn't we?
I almost thought we had negative. Did we have close to a negative real yield last year at some point? I mean, I know versus inflation, we've been way under that. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
okay, so I don't recall that the 10-year went negative. Obviously, the short stuff.
No, not the 10-year, but yeah, like the 1 month and the 3 months.
Zero. But I mean, you think about it. You think about, with the 10-year at a 180, the 30-year mortgage should be, 283. It's not. It's there's a huge risk premium still in the marketplace. And Andrew, to your point, all this high frequency stuff. Journal had a story the other day that 50 or 60% of the volume in the options market is the high frequency. Now, some of those are market makers. That's why this market has mood swings. Earlier in the week, bad news out of Italy, the yen, the bond, it's the end of the world. The market loses 200. Every headline goes negative. The nightly news goes negative. 2 days later, we're up 300 in a couple days, and vol's gone. Everybody's happy again. We seem not to care that much about what goes on in Washington. And today you get a reversal. So I don't know how much of this is simply the fact that so much of this volume is high frequency, and you're going to get these kind of dramatic swings exacerbated by the high frequency guys.
Yeah, and there's no liquidity. Nobody provides liquidity anymore. Like the old days, guys on the floor provide. That's all gone, right?
Yeah,
you just tap one button and all that stuff just goes away.
Yeah, I agree with you. The challenge is there's no incentive to provide liquidity, and I'm not making it any better. But our industry. Look at the market maker community in Chicago. It's a brutal business.
All right,
that's why I left it. Too hard.
With that, Alex, what do you have on your radar that you are looking at and around the block?
There aren't a lot of earnings coming this week. So this is literally, looking at the market, just looking at the vol numbers, looking at the market, looking at interest rates. But it's a quiet earnings period, so there isn't a lot of critical earnings. The question will all be what comes out of Washington and will the market care? So for a couple of days here, the market didn't seem to care. And then today, late in the day, the market got very sincere about things. Be interested to see the opening tomorrow and what the news flow is over the weekend. We just continue to be in a headline-driven market. So watching the headlines.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And then finally, last but not least, Andrew, what do we have coming up at the Option Pit?
We actually have an event, and I have the date for it.
Holy cow. The man is a born promoter.
I know. April 20th, Mark will be giving a seminar in New York City on trading the VIX and using the VIX as an indicator. It's usually one of his most popular seminars. It always sells out because people actually learn something. Basically, it's teaching guys how to look at the VIX, very similar to the way that a SPX market maker would trade the curve. And it really helps you kind of diagnose, what's going on in option volatility. And that always makes putting trades on easier if you have some kind of inkling of what you think the volatility is going to do. So it's always it's always been sold out. He does it in conjunction with the SIBO. And it's generally, it's an excellent seminar on actually how a volatility product really works and ways to trade it. So April 20th, go to optionpit.com and just type in our search window about April 20th VIX seminar and go to our event page and you get all the information you want on it.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Mr. Viceroy, what do we have going on in the Ox?
Okay, so March 9th, the crew will be at the Westin Yorktown Center. It's in Lombard, and I'm going to drag myself out of bed and go to that one. But we'll be doing a live event in Lombard, and all our live events now are simulcast on the site. So if you don't want to get out of your jammies and head to Lombard and meet the Viceroy and get to meet Jimmy Ruzan and the rest of the crew, you can come to the site, and it's simulcast. March 23rd, the crew will be in San Francisco at the Westin Millbrae, which is right by the San Francisco airport, real easy location. And there's always a full webinar schedule. So come to the site. All the events are free. The live events are free. The webinars are all free. We are building an archive now of the simulcasts and the recordings of the webinars. The archive isn't up yet, but it will be up shortly. I did an Ideas Hub last night and had a great crowd for that one. But there's a robust schedule, everything from futures to options. We bring in a lot of outside experts, people from the SIBO, people from the CME. So just come to optionsexpress.com. Click on the education tab. If you're not a customer, you can still access all this stuff, and it's going to make you want to become a customer.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, that will do it for today's version of the Option Block. My name is Mike Tusaw, and I'm filling in for Mark Longo. I always like to say I know how Jay Leno must have felt back when he was filling in for Johnny Carson back in the day. They're tough shoes to fill for the master. And Mark is definitely the master of all option radio hostings, that's for sure. But I would like to thank everyone for coming and wish everybody well. Let's have a successful trading day tomorrow. So long, everybody.
Become a part of the Option Block. Just visit www.theoptionsinsider.com/forum to post a question for the hosts. You can also submit questions to twitter.com/optionblock or leave a voicemail at 312-544-9356. Make it interesting and your question just might make it on the air. The Options Block is property of the Options Insider Incorporated. All rights reserved. The preceding program was a presentation of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com/radio or search for Options Insider Radio in iTunes.